Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of Musings from the Shop, because silence is consent, and it's time to make some noise. I've kind of been away from this for a few weeks. I've had a couple of health issues and a few other things that have come up, and it just kind of kept me out of the shop. So there you go. Did you miss me? Let's get to this. Been a pretty wild week, or wild few weeks, especially on Wall Street, with huge losses, some gains, but then losses again. And it's all due to one man. People's savings are being wiped out, people's retirements. Millionaires and billionaires are losing a lot of money who have invested in the stock market. And even the bonds are hurting. So, and again, this is all due to the actions of one man, Donald Trump. Now, he's hurting a lot of people, not just libs, but he's hurting a lot of people who went out, supported him, and voted for him, and helped to put him back in office. I'll give you, we've heard about, in past episodes of this, I mentioned some farmers in the Midwest who were about to lose their farms because they're not going to be able to make their mortgage payments because Trump and Musk froze the FEMA payments that they were supposed to receive in exchange for doing improvements on their land. He's hurting other farmers as well. An example would be, now I've got a little cheat sheet here, so I'm going to be looking down at it from time to time to make sure I get my facts straight. But here's one guy. His name is Nicholas Gilbert, and he is a dairy farmer in upstate New York. His farm is located up near the Canadian border. So he gets his cattle feed from Canada simply because there's no other supplier that is near him to make it feasible for him to be able to afford the transport costs. Now, he recently got an order delivered of livestock feed, and on the bill was an additional $2,200 as a tariff surcharge. That was attached to his bill on top of the cost of the feed. Now, this puts him in a pickle because he can't just pass this cost on to his customers by, say, raising the cost of his milk, because that price is set by the co-op of which he belongs. He also can't start feeding his livestock less. And like I said before, he can't go to a different supplier because there aren't any in his area. So, and he's thinking that the supplier of his feed should have just absorbed the costs of the tariffs. Sorry, friend, it just doesn't work that way. Tariffs are basically a tax, and they are passed down to the consumer, you and me. Another way that Trump is hurting his own people, you remember that hurricane that recently went up the East Coast, Hurricane Helene, I think is the name of it. Well, recently North Carolina requested additional FEMA relief from this hurricane, from the damages caused by this hurricane. Now, this hurricane was a bad one. It cost a total of $78 billion in damages over several states, as well as resulted in 250 people dead from this storm. It cut a wide swath, and a lot of people were hurt. A lot of people who were or who are Trump supporters. Well, Trump called the relief for that storm unwarranted. For those of you who think that Donald Trump cares about you, he doesn't. He really doesn't. And again, this isn't about liberal versus conservative. This is about right from wrong. This is about a man who is in power. He's in the presidency. He ran for the presidency this time for one reason and one reason only, and that was to keep his Fanny out of jail. And I'll give it to him, he succeeded in that. But let's take a little look at what is warranted in Trump land, okay? Donald Trump wants to have a military-style parade in Washington, D.C. to celebrate his birthday. Now, they are estimating that the cost of this parade is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $92 million. And he wants tanks and everything going on these Washington, D.C. streets. Now, a modern military tank, now I'm no expert on this, but I Googled it. A modern military tank weighs right in the neighborhood of 68 tons. Can you imagine the damage that is going to be done to the streets in Washington, D.C. by that machinery running over it? I don't think that's even figured in the $92 million that they're figuring it's going to cost just for the parade itself. This other damage is going to be in addition to that. Let's take a look at another thing. Remember when he went to Daytona? Okay, let's get a little breakdown on that. They're figuring that the cost of sending him to Daytona, remember when he did a lap around the track with Air Force One, so everybody could stand up and salute, and then he came down with his motorcade and did a couple of laps around the track with his motorcade so he could get all the cheers of his fans and everybody could just whoop it up. Well, that little jaunt costs right in the neighborhood of $5 million just for that. Air Force One alone costs around $3,000 per minute to fly. That's airtime. So Air Force One, they're figuring costs between $800,000 and $1 million just for the airplane and crew, of course. The presidential motorcade and transport, they're figuring was somewhere between $200,000 and $500,000. The Secret Service, between $1 million and $2 million. The FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, airspace restrictions, they're figuring, because for the interruption in to the commercial aircraft and whatnot, they're figuring that that's anywhere between $100,000 and $300,000. Staffing and logistical support, between $200,000 and $500,000 for logistical staff. Additional emergency and military resources they're figuring is anywhere between $100,000 and $500,000 just to go to Daytona. How about the Super Bowl? Now, I know I talked about that before, but we're going to talk about it again. Estimated cost to the taxpayers for Trump's little trip to the Super Bowl was anywhere between $4 million and $20 million. I know that's a pretty broad range. But again, Air Force One had to fly from Washington, D.C. down to Mar-a-Lago, and then it had to, and that was 1 hour and 48 minute flight right there at $3,000 per minute of flight time. Then they had to go from Mar-a-Lago to New Orleans at 1 hour and 34 minutes, and then from New Orleans back to Washington, D.C. for 1 hour and 51 minutes flight time. Total flight time was around 5 hours and 13 minutes. Now, that doesn't count the flight time of Marine One to get him to and from Air Force One. It's ridiculous just for a trip to the Super Bowl. Again, about $180,000 per flight hour. 313 minutes of flight time. We're talking approximately $939,000 just for Air Force One to go to the Super Bowl and back. And he didn't even stay for the whole game. Now, this does not count. This cost is just for Air Force One itself. It does not count the other Air Force aircraft, military aircraft, that fly alongside of Air Force One to make sure that it's protected. Now, the motorcade to go to the Super Bowl, at least 15 vehicles in the motorcade. Secret Service costs were at least $17,520 for one day. You want to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse? In the time that Donald Trump has been president this time around, we're talking the latter part of January and then February, March, and April. So, we're probably going on, pretty close to 4 months. He has made 7 trips to Mar-a-Lago. These trips, and this is just to go down and golf. These trips are costing the taxpayers, or so far have cost the taxpayers about $23 million. And that's not counting the approximately $240,000 a day that it is costing the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department for their overtime costs to help the Secret Service to protect him. You want to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse? It's not from these immigrants coming across the border. It's not supposed dead people that are collecting Social Security. That's a fable. Doesn't happen. Most of that waste, fraud, and abuse is occurring from one man only, and his name is Donald Trump. Now, I know the President of the United States needs to have protection. I don't disparage him for that. But the fact that he is hauling these people around the country for no reason at all, other than for his leisure, for his fun, he's not doing the work of the country. He's out there having a good old time, and you and I are paying for it. You and I are also paying for it in cutbacks to Social Security. He's fired so many of the office staff that they're seriously worried that by the very least that Social Security checks are going to be going out late, and in some cases they might not go out at all. They're kicking people off the Social Security rolls who are immigrants, and if they're on Social Security, then they are here legally. The fable of illegal immigrants collecting Social Security, that is a lie. It's a pure fabrication. So what they're doing is they're finding people that are immigrants who are collecting Social Security, legal immigrants, and they're declaring them dead in order to get them off the rolls. Now, once you are declared dead, as far as Social Security is concerned, it is damn near impossible to get that reversed. It is such a bureaucratic screw up there that these people are going to be, they're screwed. There's no way around it. They're screwed. And for what? So Donald Trump can, and his millionaire and billionaire buddies can get a tax cut, and he can still keep on gallivanting around the country playing golf. I don't know, folks. This just doesn't add up. No wonder people are taking to the streets. And yeah, we're going to have another national demonstration. It's going to be on the 19th of this month, on Saturday. I believe that's this coming Saturday. If you can, if you care about your country, if you care about what's going on, get out there and show it. Again, these are peaceful demonstrations. No violence. Do not even let the Trump supporters provoke you into violence. And they have tried to do it at a few of the other demonstrations. And thank goodness the people who were demonstrating just did not take the bait. Those Trump supporters wasted their time. Let's let them waste their time again. I don't know, folks. It's going to be a long 4 years. This country has got to take some action, or we're going to lose what is left of our democracy. Well, that's all I got. Let's keep it between the ditches, folks. Have a good day.